dirt from my garden, land to speed decay along. Wrap me in cotton, wrap me in cotton, I'll be leaning toward the west. Oh.
Have you ever played at church before?
Oh yeah, many times.
Okay. Do you think this is an appropriate venue for what you're doing right now?
Great. I love this
Perfect,
space.
isn't it?
Did you see it?
Yes.
It's great. It's a beautiful space. I love the combination of wood and stone in there. It's unusual, and I think it's ideal. Yeah.
And very cozy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I noticed that the pews are more of the British style as opposed to, like, I haven't been in any churches in Portugal, but I noticed in Spain and France the pews have a different style, more like benches, kind of.
You breathe through the rain and splash again.
I'm in a band called The Hive Dwellers, and we have an album that came out 2 years ago called Hewn from the Wilderness.
Okay.
And then we have a new album, it's called Monin, and I'll be doing songs from both those albums at the show.
Okay.
Shows here in Portugal, and then songs from various solo records and new songs that aren't on any record.
Okay.
So it'll just mixing it up.
Latin slumber, what a lonely, lonely number. Let's spend all summer.
You basically don't have any set lists and just make up whatever you want to play later.
Yeah. More or less. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. That's very rare though. And your catalog is pretty extensive, I mean. So do you remember everything?
No, not at all. There's about 50, 60 songs that I know that I can play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the rough list in the back of my mind that I'm drawing from.
When you are mine, it'll be agreed without us saying a thing, that the world can stand in line for the privilege.
The first time I ever got in contact with your music was back in 96 or 97, I think, with the Hellbenders and their Narcotic Sound System. And I remember distinctively you being on MTV's Alternative Nation, on MTV Europe's Alternative Nation, singing Bone Dry with just some maracas. And that was, and it's just like a minute and a half, and it stuck with me since. I've never forgotten it. I was kind of puzzled by it at the time, like that I'd never really listened to anything like that before. And it stuck with me until this day. So I guess my question is that the sort of essential quality that you seek in your music?
Well, just using the tools at hand. I don't remember exactly what I was doing here. I think I was just visiting, and Toby, who did that, he arranged that. He worked at MTV at the time. I had met him years before in Tucson, Arizona, and he heard that I was going to be in England and said, "Hey, you should come and do this thing I'm doing now." So I'm like, cool. So it just seemed like, why not?
Oh, so
I just arranged the song for the moment.
Okay, so Toby actually had a lot of, like, a great creative input on that show. I had no idea. I thought he was just a host.
Oh yeah, no. Well, he, as far as at least that particular show, I mean, he invited me up, and I got to choose videos by people I knew, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's super
Yeah,
cool.
he came to Olympia once. He had a different show in America. I forget what it was called, but he came to Olympia and interviewed me, and he looked around the Dub Narcotic studio, and yeah, so that was fun too.
You're not here to share in this viewing. Don't want to turn around and see the couples doing what they're doing. Their smiles and snuggles, doing what they're doing what they're doing at the motion picture show. Oh.
Your interview with Ian Svenonius, on that interview, you mentioned the Narcotic Sound System wanting to make people dance again, like, and trying to be very visceral. That seems pretty much against, like, what became in the late 70s, like, progressive rock and stuff. Is that the main counterpoint, would you say?
That's an interesting perspective. it seems more like punk rock was a reaction to progressive rock, or not a reaction, but an antidote.
Yes.
At the time that I was developing the narcotic sound system, things had just gotten a little bit staid, a bit boring. Everyone had, for some reason, just stopped dancing. And I felt like, hey, what happened to all the dancing? And I feel like it would be arrogant to assume that I could make people dance. I'm not saying I make people dance, but I would like to try to create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable dancing.
Sure.
So that was one of the objectives.
I am turning another ribbon this morning. Well, love will come back again. Love will come back again.
Do you think that there are more better artists now than there were when you set out?
Yeah, definitely. It's just the bar has raised. It's raised. You know, people coming into making music on this level of underground music just already so much further along than they did in the 70s. I think that has a lot to do with originally the 4-track cassette player was a great spawning ground for people's creativity. That they were, you know, before that, people didn't have opportunity to record themselves or experiment with multi-tracking. And so now with, you know, computers, and not even computers, just the internet, you can just multi-track on, you know. I think people are just, they're creating songs, they're writing songs, they're working with sound and recording and performing in ways that allow them to just jump right in so much further along.
You delectable bits of honeycomb, drag me through the stratosphere.
That has certainly created a much richer, deeper field of artists and people just expressing themselves in general.